Alright, welcome back. I think this is lecture 6. I'm starting to lose count here. But we are on communication devices. Now, communication device is a device that allows your computer to communicate to other computers and devices. Examples. A modem. Yes, that's a very ancient computer and a very ancient modem. There's a reason I'm showing it. We'll get to that in a bit. This is a network card, Ethernet card. It's in virtually every computer you buy now. This is typically what you're going to plug into whenever you want internet anywhere pretty much. Bluetooth for cell phones and other devices. Wi-Fi. Most people know Wi-Fi allows you to get on internet and other places wirelessly. Now, these are all communication devices, and there's plenty of others, but these are the major ones that you tend to hear about. Now, let's talk about the modem, because the modem, internet, all that stuff people see on a daily basis. Now, this stands for modulate, demodulate. Original modems were used to send information across the phone lines. Regular copper phone lines could only use voice, though, so that was a bit of an issue. The computer speaks in digital signals, not voice, like we're used to talking on the phone. But the phone lines themselves, being all copper and analog, could not carry all those digital signals. So we had to do something about that. We had to get something that could convert those digital signals into analog, voice, and then send them on their way, where they'll be converted again. So since the computers talk in digital signals, they wouldn't understand the voice, so we modulate it so it basically sounds. If anyone's ever done a fax machine or heard an old computer connect to the internet, you've heard all the beeps and whistles and the dings and stuff. That is digital signals converted to voice. Once it gets to its destination, it demodulates back into digital signals. So a good example here. User wants to do something. He wants to send it across the phone lines. So digital signals go to the modem, change to go across the phone lines. And then they change again for that computer or ISP or whatever you happen to be connecting to. Now, technology has advanced since then. The regular dial-up modem was capable of 56 kilobytes per second at its maximum for the most part. You remember before we talked about the different amounts of data and the sizes compared to words and books and things like that. And you can see just how little that really is. Especially when you consider the average picture can be a few megabytes. It might take you several minutes or longer to download a normal picture today if you were using that speed. So obviously, technology has advanced. So the three major ways to access the internet now are DSL, digital subscriber line, which goes through your phone lines. You'll see AT&T is a big user of this. Cable, internet through TV, cable line. This would be, your Comcast or Cox cable. And satellite, internet given through satellite dish. Now all of these are comparable for the most part as far as speed goes. But let's back up a little bit. All these are comparable speed-wise. Satellite's probably a little slower. It's actually got probably the worst statistics out of all of them. DSL, goes to a phone line, and it can go decently fast, and cable's roughly the same. Now, satellite has restrictions, and you can't download more than a certain amount, and it's fairly limited. Weather causes some issues. Anyone who has a satellite dish, I'm sure you know, whenever there's a storm or something like that, your satellite blinks off and has issues. Well, that would be true for your internet too if you were going through satellite. Now, the only time you'd use satellite is if perhaps you didn't have any other choice. That would be the only time you really need to use it. Now, of course, now cables to the ground are upgraded to fiber optics, which allow for digital signals. That's where DSL is allowed. Of course, cable companies have put down tons of cables for their uses as well. Now, I'm going to go on a little spill here a little bit about America, the internet, and all that. We invented the internet, and it's been a fantastic invention. But compared to the rest of the world, it kind of sucks. Here's a list of the top 10 as far as peak speed megabytes per second countries in the planet. Now, if you look at this, do you see America on there? No, we are not. Taiwan, Latvia, Uruguay, Romania, Luxembourg are above us. Hong Kong, Singapore, South Korea, Japan, the Asian countries are way above everybody else. Now, we are actually number 17 on the list. The people who invented the internet are far slower than everybody else. Well, not everybody, but a good chunk of people. Now, keep in mind this is a few years ago, and this is also peak megabytes per second, not average. Our average is actually considerably lower than that, way lower than that. This is just the peak megabytes per second that the United States is, and it's still half what the Asian countries are. Now, if that was all there was to it, it wouldn't be a big deal. The big issue here is, let's take a look. The average cost per megabyte in South Korea is 45 cents. So if you got 10 megabytes per second, you're paying $4 a month for it, $4.50. 20, you're paying $9. 40, you're paying double that too. Japan, it's 21 cents. Can you guess how much it costs in America per megabyte? Average cost is $3.33 per megabyte. Now, if you notice a difference there, do your math and you can see that it's rather large. There's a huge difference in price and speed. Not only are we one of the slower ones, we're also the most expensive by multiple times over. And why is that? Why are we, charging so much money for so little? Well, I don't care too much for politics, but this video here actually does a pretty good job of explaining why it is that our internet kind of sucks compared to everybody else. Now, a word of warning, there is a little bit of language, but everything this guy says is pretty much true, regardless of what all you hear in there. So in just a minute or so, here it is.
Hi, we're your local high-speed internet and cable provider. Are you looking for a fast, reliable internet connection? A large selection of your favorite HDTV channels? With 24/7 access to the best customer support technicians, all at a fair price? Fuck you. You'll take what we give you. You'll have the option of choosing from several of our completely unwarranted rip-offs, including internet speeds up to 200 times slower than Korea at twice the price, TV packages with over 500 channels, 90% of which you can't view, and we guarantee a plethora of hidden fees. Then, our barely trained technicians will come to install your services somewhere between the hours of 8 a.m. and 10 p.m. Knock once while you're in the shower, and promptly leave. And once we do finally get your service up and running, it'll be down and limping within 3 hours. Indefinitely. Why, you ask? Simple. We are part of what is called an oligopoly. It's like a monopoly, only legal. See, in closed-door meetings with 4 or 5 of the other major providers, we've secretly agreed not to have differing prices, allowing us to completely eliminate any competition and collectively raise our prices to optimum cockbag levels. Because we here at your local high-speed internet and cable provider don't believe in customer satisfaction. We believe in money. Pools of money. Looking for a better deal? You can all gobble down our balls. You're paying for it. Your local high-speed internet and cable provider. You won't like it, and there's no other option.
Now, sadly, that video is actually 100% true. All of the cable companies and internet providers have actually come together, shook hands, and decided you can go here and I'll go here and we won't even bother each other. They won't even compete in price. See, the whole point of, capitalism is for two companies who have the same products to compete with each other and give better service. Well, in this case, they've completely cut that out and basically give us crappy service at high prices because we really don't have a choice, sadly. Now, that aside, we can still get on the internet. It's still considerably better than, Ethiopia or some other country. Even some of the fairly up there countries, we're still slightly better than them, although we're ridiculously expensive compared to everybody else. There's a lot of things we could fix, but that's just my little spiel on the internet, so you kind of know why it is you pay so much. And anyone's had to deal with Comcast in particular, they have like the worst reputation ever as far as customer service for most people. Well, anyway, internet service providers aside, let's talk about the actual internet itself and how it works. Now behold, the internet. So, the internet. What is it? It started off as just two computers connected together. It was funded by the government, some college professors effectively, and a research team managed to get some computers together that could send a packet of information back and forth, became a message. It grew into a message board system at some point. And eventually a lot of college professors and researchers were using it to post papers and things back and forth. It eventually grew into what we have today, which is a massive collection of information, which is stuff that people usually consider useful, and junk, stuff that isn't so useful. Now you can find just about anything on the internet you want. And I mean anything. Quite literally, seriously, anything. You can find all sorts of ridiculous stuff on the internet. Now, that being said, there's still a lot of good stuff out there. I mean, you can take classes over the internet now. You can go to YouTube and look up anything. You want to know how to, tune up your car, or change a carburetor, or, build a rocket. There are videos, tutorials, and all kinds of information out there on how to do just about anything you could possibly want. Now, that being said, not everything is true. Just because, it's listed on the internet and there's a picture by it, or, something like that, does not make it a true statement. I've seen numerous statements, particularly on Facebook, political statements and this and that, oh, this has happened, because of this. All these people are, hurting because of this thing. And if you actually do a little bit of time Googling before you say, yeah, how dare they, you'll find that 90% of the stuff that's posted is not even close to being true. In fact, some people post stuff that's deliberately not true. So take everything with a grain of salt. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff out there if you want to research papers or look up anything, learn a language. You can do just about anything if you look through the internet. I myself have learned how to do, 3D modeling and graphics design and some programming. I even took a penetration testing, or you can call it hacking course online. So there is tons of stuff out there. Just not everything is good. So how does it work? Well, you have your computer, and it plugs into a modem, which we just talked about earlier. And then that modem connects to an ISP, or Internet Service Provider. This is someone you pay money to, and as we talked about earlier, a fairly substantial amount of money compared to the rest of the world, to allow you to get on the internet. They give you an IP address. That's basically Internet Protocol address. It's a unique address just for your computer. An example would be 170.0.0.1. You can think of it like a home address. If I mail you a letter, I have to have your address to send it to your house, right? So if I have your address, I can send you information. You can mail me something back. Same is true with this IP address. Once they give you an IP address, you can access the internet. You go through your ISP and then go to whatever place you want, Google or whatever, and you want to search for funny cat videos, well, the search comes from your computer and goes out. and the internet finds it, whatever site you've clicked on, Google or whatever. They will find your funny cat video, and they will send it back to that IP address, that unique address that represents just you. And it goes back and you watch it on your screen. Now, the internet sees just you. Basically, the one address is on there. Let's say, for example, you have two computers, and both of them want to connect to the internet. You would connect to what's called a wireless router, or a router. This allows for two or more computer, maybe cell phone, and various other devices to connect. Now you have what's called a network, which is two or more computers connected together. Now, that router plugs into your modem. And everything else pretty much works exactly the same. The only issue here is the internet sees only one IP address. If this computer is looking for funny cat videos and this computer is looking for illegal stuff, or, I don't know, looking up stuff for an English paper or something, it will only see it coming from one place. So the router decides who gets what. It assigns a special address for each one of these people, and they go out and they ask for what they want. The internet sees this one IP address asking for this, and the same IP address asking for that. And it's going to send it back to the modem, which sends it to the router. And the router will give this back to whoever asked for it. So you can have a bunch of different computers attached to it, and they can all go in and ask for whatever they want. And this thing will filter it back to the proper place. Now, this isn't too big of an issue, unless, let's say, you get hacked, or someone manages to get into your Wi-Fi. Let's say you didn't password protect it or something. Then they could just pop onto it and download and do whatever they want. They can attach their computer to it and start searching. Now, the issue here is the hacker could do anything they wanted, and all the police would find is you. They would see that this IP address is asking for various other things, or hacking into things, or downloading horrible things, and they would come to your house, because that's where the information is coming from. Now, eventually they might figure out it wasn't your computer after they ripped them apart and checked everything, but they would still come to you. They wouldn't know it's specifically this other guy or whoever that's leeching off of you. There was a fairly famous story. The police knocked down this door and ran into the house to arrest this person because there was huge amounts of child pornography going through their modem. And it was this little old woman who was sitting there, and they ran in there, guns blazing, ready to take down this horrible pervert, and found this little bitty woman. They ask her, where's your computer? And he's like, I don't know, my grandson set that thing up, I never use it. And turns out he set up a Wi-Fi router with no password. The next door neighbor was leeching off of it, and he was actually the pervert. They caught him eventually, but still. So you always want to set up a password on your router so no one can get into it. That being said, knowing what I know currently, to actually break into a Wi-Fi is actually not that hard if someone really wanted to. All it takes is, a few days, really. Doesn't matter what you have, they could still technically get in. Now, would normal people break into your computer or your Wi-Fi? You probably wouldn't have to worry about that too much. So, basic communication device terms. We talked about the modem, which allows you to get on the internet, and there are many different kinds, from cable to DSL. The router allows you to connect to two or more computers together and basically create a network, which is two or more computers connected together. And a communication device is a device that allows a computer to communicate to other computers and devices. We're going to go ahead and stop here, and we'll continue this lecture. Let's see. I think next week, perhaps. Let me see where we're at. Yep. So this will be the end of our lecture series for